Every traveler has their perfect seat. Some swear by the window, that little view, that quiet corner, that sense of peace. Others love the aisle, the freedom to move, stretch, or head to the restroom without asking anyone. But what if I told you that the seat you've trusted for years might now be the worst one on the plane? In 2025, airlines have quietly changed the way they board and manage economy seating, and it's completely flipped what counts as a good seat. The seat you once thought was the safest, most comfortable, even the healthiest option might now make your trip slower, colder, or much more stressful than it needs to be. So let's start from the beginning.
Hi there, this is Airport Aviation Guide, and I'm so glad you're watching this video. I travel a lot and always try to bring you the most up-to-date and useful information. In return, I ask you to fasten your seatbelts, subscribe, and give a like. And now, Quigley, let's take off.
Window, middle, aisle. The eternal question. Which one's truly best? Let's begin with the window seat. It's always been the most romantic spot on the plane. You've got the view, the clouds, the sunrise, the feeling that the world's far below and you're floating peacefully above it all. It's quiet. You can lean your head against the wall and drift off. You don't have people brushing past you every few minutes. And if you're concerned about catching something, less exposure, fewer people near your face. Perfect, right? Well, not exactly. Because here's the catch. The window seat is also the most trapped seat on the plane. When you need to stretch your legs or use the restroom, you have to wake up two strangers, climb over them, or awkwardly squeeze by while they glare at you. And if they fall asleep, good luck getting out. You're not just trapped, you're cornered. Window seats are also colder. That wall is just inches from the outside air at 35,000 feet. And when the plane lands, you'll wait longer to get off, especially if the passengers beside you are slow or still packing up. That peaceful seat suddenly becomes a test of patience. Now, let's talk about the aisle seat, my old favorite. Freedom, mobility, space. You can stand whenever you like. You're first to get out when the plane lands. You can stretch your legs into the aisle for a quick moment, though flight attendants don't love that. And for anyone who's even a little claustrophobic, aisle seats just feel better. You can see movement, feel the air, stay in control. For years, I told nervous flyers, pick the aisle, always the aisle. But after hundreds of flights, I'm not so sure anymore. Because even though aisle seats seem perfect, there are new downsides no one talks about. And one change airlines made recently that might make the aisle seat the worst choice you can make in 2025. First, the obvious. You'll be disturbed constantly. If you're in the aisle, every time your seatmates need to get up, you're the one standing, moving, adjusting your tray. Sometimes people even try to squeeze past without asking, brushing your shoulder or spilling a drink. Then there's the aisle traffic. Passengers, carts, kids, flight attendants. You get bumped, brushed, or leaned over. And no, there's no wall to lean on when you're tired. Just another person, and please never do that. Still, even with those annoyances, most travelers, especially those who like control and easy movement, prefer the aisle. But that's about to change. Because one major US airline has quietly flipped the rules, and now the aisle seat might be the last one you'll ever want to pick. And the reason? It's got nothing to do with comfort and everything to do with boarding order. Stay with me, because in the next part, I'll explain exactly how this new system works and why, if you choose the aisle seat, your bag might never make it on the plane. You've probably heard airlines brag about their new boarding systems. Faster, smarter, more efficient. But what they don't tell you is that some of these systems quietly punish certain passengers. And if you're one of the millions of people who always choose the aisle seat, you might be in for a very unpleasant surprise. Let's talk about what's happening right now. The new WILMA boarding method. It sounds like a friendly name, but it's really a clever acronym. Window, middle, aisle. That's the new boarding order for economy passengers, and it changes everything. Here's how it works. First, all passengers with window seats board. They get on early, find space for their bags, and settle in. Then, the middle seat passengers board, filling up most of the remaining overhead bins. And finally, last, always last, come the aisle seat passengers. Sounds simple, right? But here's where the trap begins. Airlines introduced this to speed up boarding, but it's also a subtle way of managing luggage space. Overhead bins work on a first-come, first-served basis. By the time the aisle passengers board, those bins are often completely full. That means if you're in the aisle seat, you might have nowhere to put your carry-on. And once that happens, you don't get a polite apology. You get a bright orange gate check tag slapped on your bag, and suddenly that bag, the one with your valuables, your medication, your camera, maybe even your passport, is being thrown under the plane with the rest of the checked luggage. I've seen it again and again. People standing helplessly in the aisle, holding their bag as flight attendants wave them toward the door, telling them it's policy. And the look on their faces, frustration, disbelief, because they thought they did everything right. They packed light, they arrived early, they followed the rules, but under the new boarding system, it doesn't matter. You're boarding last, and that means you lose. And there's more, because WILMA isn't just about speed, it's about control. By boarding window and middle passengers first, airlines reduce the time people spend standing in the aisles, which in theory makes flights depart on time. But the trade-off is real. Aisle passengers now bear the cost of efficiency. You're less likely to find overhead space, more likely to check your bag, and far more likely to wait longer after landing.
Think about it. If you're last to board, you're also last to deplane. By the time you finally reach the exit, half the plane is already cleared customs, grabbed their bags, and maybe even ordered their coffee at the terminal. And for travelers over 50, that delay isn't just annoying, it's exhausting. Longer standing time, heavier carry-ons, extra waiting in crowded jetways, it adds up, both physically and mentally. But here's the part that almost no one realizes yet. If you're in an aisle seat and your bag gets checked at the gate, you're also increasing your risk of delayed baggage, lost items, or worse, missed connections when your flight runs late. And for anyone with essential medications or valuables in their carry-on, that's not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. So what's the solution? If you're flying on airlines like United or any carrier now testing WILMA, the smarter move might actually be to pick a window or even middle seat. You'll board earlier, have a better chance of finding space for your bag, and ironically, reach your destination calmer and faster. But that's not the whole story, because your position on the plane, front, middle, or back, can also make or break your flight. And what we're about to uncover next might completely change how you choose seats forever. Now let's talk about the part that really decides how your flight feels, where exactly you sit on the plane. Most people think the battle ends with aisle or window, but the truth goes much deeper, because not all seats are created equal, and some can quietly ruin your flight before you even take off. Let's start with the front of the plane. It feels premium, quick boarding, fast deplaning, and meals served first. It's perfect if you hate waiting in lines or have a tight connection. But here's the hidden cost. The front section is busy. Families with young kids often sit here, so there's more crying, more movement, and far less calm. The quiet you imagined? Gone. And with people standing up early to grab their bags, the front rows can feel chaotic long before landing. Now, the middle of the cabin. This is the sweet spot most travelers overlook. You're right above the wings, which means less turbulence and a smoother ride. The noise is softer and the airflow feels better regulated. If you're someone who gets anxious during flights or you just want a steadier experience, this is where you'll find it. It's also ideal for travelers 50 plus who prefer less shaking and an easier time resting. The only downside, you're surrounded on all sides, not first off, not last off. But in terms of comfort and balance, the middle section quietly wins. And then there's the back of the plane, the most misunderstood part of all. Yes, it's bumpier, yes, it's louder, but you know what else it is? It's emptier. That means more chances for open rows, extra space, and even an empty seat next to you. If you value privacy over perfection, the back could actually be your hidden sanctuary. You also have flight attendants nearby, which means faster service, and ironically, the back of the plane has been statistically shown to have higher survival odds in an emergency. It's not glamorous, but it's practical. Now let's get specific. Never, and I mean never, pick the very last row. Those seats don't recline, they're next to the bathrooms, and you'll smell every flesh of the flight. Avoid seats directly in front of an exit row too. They often have limited or zero recline. You'll sit stiff the whole time, wondering why your seat feels broken. Want to play it smart? There's a secret tool seasoned travelers use. It's called SeatGuru. You type your flight number, and it shows you the best and worst seats on your exact plane model. It's free, simple, and could save your back on long-haul flights. And here's a final golden tip. If you're flying on a large aircraft with a center row of 3 or 4 seats, choose a center aisle seat. You'll get aisle access, but you won't have to stand up every time someone in the window seat wants out. It's the perfect compromise. Freedom without interruption. So what's the ultimate choice for 2025? Here's the honest truth. There's no perfect seat anymore. Airlines keep changing rules, rearranging boarding systems, and monetizing comfort. But if you understand the logic, how the plane is designed, how people behave, how systems like WILMA affect boarding, you'll always stay one step ahead. The best seat isn't just the one with the view or the legroom. It's the one that gives you control of your experience. Because in modern travel, control is the only real luxury left. Now, tell me, where do you sit when you fly? Window, aisle, or are you brave enough for the back?